the urgency with a really great funnel is what took my business from really struggling, making about $1,000 a month to just like that, making $10,000 a month.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Selling Online Courses. We're here to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. My name is John Ainsworth, and today's guest is Jacques Hopkins. He's worked as an engineer for 8 years before quitting his job and turning his biggest hobby of playing the piano into a highly successful online course. Pianoin21days.com has brought in over 3 million in revenue to date, with over 8,000 students all over the world. Today, Jacques supports his family with a passive income from his course while teaching other people how to do the same on the Online Course Show podcast. And there's other places you can find out more about, and we'll talk about that more at the end. So today we're going to be talking about urgency and scarcity, why they matter, what kind of impact they can have, how to use them ethically, different kinds of urgency and scarcity, and tests that Jacques has run before. Now, before we dive into our interview with today's guest, I've got an important question for you. Do you own a course or an authority website? If you do, did you know there's a short list of techniques that can help you to double to quadruple your revenue? The average rate of return from using these techniques is 428%. If you want to find out more and find out which ones you're missing at the moment, go to pimpyourfunnel.com, fill in the survey. It takes about 3 minutes, something like that. And my team is going to create a personalized profit increase report for you. So go to pimpyourfunnel.com and get your own report. Now, back to the show. Jacques, welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
John, this is such an honor and a pleasure. I love geeking out on courses. I love talking with you. I love going on other people's podcasts and just like geeking out about this stuff. But it's a real honor to like get invited back on a podcast, because that means you didn't like totally bomb it the first time, I guess. So thanks for the invitation yet again, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Really glad to have you on. So could you spell out for us, I mentioned at the start, urgency and scarcity. What's the difference between them, and from which one means what?
Yeah, so I've used them interchangeably in the past, mistakenly. I did a big urgency experiment a couple of years ago, and I released, I have my own podcast where I share insights from my online course business. And I think I titled the episode something like, the 3 types of scarcity you could use for online courses. And like, even then I was using the term wrong, in my opinion. Scarcity relates to the quantity, a limited quantity of something, whereas urgency is about a limited time for something. And so when I said like, here's the top 3 ways to use scarcity in your online course business, I actually meant urgency, because I think that we're talking about online courses here, right? We're talking about digital products. It's very hard to like ethically use true scarcity with digital products. And maybe you can prove me wrong, but they're digital, right? There's an infinite number of copies of these, and most people understand that on the other end. So I think that urgency, making it time-based, is probably a more effective and like ethical way, and less like coming across as a scam way to increase the number of sales. And then for me, if you've got buy-in on that, I think there's 3 main ways we can do that with online courses. But I mean, do you agree with the definition, and maybe urgency is a better tactic for online courses?
Yeah, I think you're right. Urgency is like we'll get into the details of how you use it in a bit. But yeah, urgency for online courses does fit a lot better. And in fact, it's like, that's the reason, well, one of the reasons that I got into working with online course creators is because you've got unlimited supply. And so it's like, if you then pretend that you don't have it, everyone's like, come on, like in what way? But I tell you where you do get scarcity with online courses is if you also have a group coaching element to it as well. So if it's like it's course plus there's some kind of coaching that you can get, or some kind of feedback or whatever, then that does make sense to use scarcity at that point. I read this book, oversubscribed, Daniel Priestley, I think. And he talked about like the huge importance, if you're running, I think a service business he was particularly focused on, of getting oversubscribed, having scarcity, making sure everybody knows there's a limited amount that you've got available, and they're going to have to really fight to get a place. And one of the things in there that he talked about was, if you're going to run a conference, fill up a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group or whatever with more people who want tickets than there are tickets available. And you'll find you could sell out those tickets super fast, which you might not then sell them for any more money, but you can move on to the next thing. You're done. That's all sorted. And I tried it out recently. I got a conference I organize once a year, and we had tickets sell out, and I think it was under 24 hours, definitely. And it was like, this is great fun. This is really, really good. So that scarcity, that works really well. But we're talking today about urgency. So did you always use urgency, or did you have reasons why you weren't doing it?
So I didn't always use urgency. And that was one of the big keys for me and my business actually like taking off and being successful is once I implemented urgency. I launched about 10 years ago and I launched it like the way that my intuition told me to launch it. My intuition said, hey, build the course. That's like the first thing basically. And then like you launch it, you make it available. And it's like people can go to the website and buy it or not buy it. Right. And I didn't really know anything about scarcity or urgency back then. And I was wondering why, not to mention I didn't have much traffic, but like even the traffic that would come wouldn't buy it. And the main reason was there was no incentive to buy it now. Right. It's like, okay, this is cool. Like 21 days, like I can start tomorrow. I can start the next day. I can start the next day. I don't need to buy it right now. And I was listening to a podcast episode, one of my favorite podcasts or most influential podcasts that I've ever consumed, Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn. And he had a course guy on there. I don't think this particular person does much in the course space anymore, David Siteman Garland, but he was talking about on that episode the way his funnel was set up and his urgency. And he said, look, here's what you need to do. If you're a course creator and you have your course just out there for anybody to buy at any time, you need to remove that ability. Instead, put a landing page that says, hey, my course is currently waitlisted, but don't fret. Like in the meantime, download this free guide or something. So right off the bat, somebody's visiting your site, they see, oh, like I can't get into his course, but I can get this freebie. So with digital products, like I still question the ethics of that when it's like, you know, we talk about how there's an unlimited supply of the digital products, but like also, unless it truly was awful and you're redoing it and it's not launched yet, like it's probably still available. Like you could sell it. So that's an interesting tactic, but that was back in 2016 when I implemented urgency for the first time. And so the urgency with a really great funnel is what took my business from really struggling, making about $1,000 a month to just like that, making $10,000 a month. And for me, like that's when I knew it actually was working.
Oh, 1,000 to 10,000 just from adding in. Okay. This seems like a big deal. Okay. We should dig into this more. We should do a podcast episode about it. All right. So the thing that was stopping you before, as I understand it, was you just hadn't really thought about doing it. It wasn't that you'd thought about it and decided that feels scummy. It's that you just hadn't really thought of doing it. Is that right?
I hadn't thought of doing it. I guess I should clarify that I thought about possibly adding a discount, like a limited time discount, which is another great form of urgency. But all the gurus back then at least the ones I listened to said, hey, never discount your product, never discount your product.
Okay.
Right. Show the full. So I just kind of threw that form away. So this form of urgency about the availability was kind of new to me. Like, hey, don't let people buy it anytime they want, right? Put it within a funnel and make it to where there's a last day that somebody can get it. And then when that last day hits, like after that last day, like make sure that they actually cannot get it after that. And so that whole concept, I learned it on that podcast episode for the first time, I would say, implemented it. It's been working great ever since, with the caveat that I've now switched what type of urgency I use.
Nice. Okay. So just to recap for everybody, scarcity is when there's a limited supply of something, like there's only 100 of these available, or there's only 10 this month, or whatever it is. Urgency is here's a reason to take action now, but you're not claiming that there's a limited number of them that you can get. Like, and as many people as you like can get it at this discount, as we've mentioned, as one of the ways of doing it, or in this launch or whatever. So that's urgency. Okay. How did you implement it? What did you do when you first started? Was it basically that you just had a wait list and then you said you can only buy it these times a year?
Yeah. So for me, it was implementing a true like evergreen funnel for the first time. And I think that was even maybe a little before Deadline Funnel was created. So I had a virtual assistant do a lot of manual stuff to make sure like when I said it was going away, it would go away at the time. But I made it to where somebody could come to my site and they could not buy the course, but like the whole site directed them to a single just opt-in page where it's just this piano workbook they could download. But the messaging was very clear on that site. Like I said a little while ago, it said like, hey, look, the online course is currently waitlisted while we work on the newest version. But don't fret. Like in the meantime, download this free workbook where you can learn 36 popular songs in 5 days. And so right off the bat, not only are they interested in like the freebie that they're going to learn from, but they're in their mind, they're already like, oh, I kind of want details about this course thing, but like it's not available yet. So they know that something's coming. And by opting in, that was like another incentive to give me their email address. Is not only are you going to get this thing, but you're going to be on the wait list. Right. And it just so happens that the way I did it exactly like David Simon Garland laid out in that podcast episode back 7-8 years ago, to where it was automated evergreen sequence that hyped up the course. And then like, hey, it's coming out tomorrow. Now it's available. It's open for 5 days. And then we send a couple of emails on the last day saying it's going away. So I did that. I set that up and I let that run just like that for like probably 5 years. And it was very, very successful.
How often was that launching? How often was that sequence going out per year?
So it was evergreen funnel. So every new opt-in that I would get would go through that sequence. And then the way that I structure like relaunching is if they go through that sequence and they don't buy or unsubscribe, then you automatically get repitched the offer, meaning the urgency is the availability every 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So I never did like a live launch to my full list. It was more like an evergreen sequence that never ends.
Yeah. So how long is it? Is it like 5 years worth of emails, or do they just go back to the start again after a year? Or like, how does it work?
Basically go back to the start. It's a very lazy way to do it, but it works. Like, so I find that sometimes course creators are like, oh no, I can't send that email because I just sent like a similar email 4 months ago. It's like, no, don't give yourself that much credit. Like people get tons of emails. Like they're not going to remember that was the exact email. Yeah. And so sometimes, I'll have people that have been through my launch sequence like 17 times and like finally now is the right time to buy. And it doesn't matter that they've seen the same kind of sequence that many times. It's just like now is when they were, I guess, most receptive to it for whatever reason in their life.
Yeah. Most of the people who got it didn't open it. Most of the ones who opened it didn't click. The ones who didn't click, most of them weren't paying attention. Or the ones who paid attention, most of them didn't read to the end of the sales page. Most of them didn't get through the check. It's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's like they can get the same again.
Would it convert higher if like every time was like a different version of the launch and different emails? Yeah, probably. But let's 80-20 this thing, right? I'm all about simplicity as well. And so if I can spend significantly less effort for almost the same results, I'm all for it.
Sweet. Okay, so let's get into the different kinds of scarcity that you can use, because you had one there before, which was you can only buy at this particular time of year, and then each person was getting that 3 to 4 times a year. What way are you doing it now? Same, or is it changed at all?
Yeah, it's changed. And look, you just did it. Like you just did it. It's so easy to confuse the two.
Did I just say scarcity again?
You did, yeah. Which is totally fine. Like I butchered it for the longest time. I forget who clarified for me one time. They were like, and maybe it was a podcast listener. They're like, I love what you're saying, but like you realize you're talking about urgency and not scarcity, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. I don't think. And a lot of times we lump them together, but in my opinion, there's 3 main like effective and proven ways to use urgency for an online course. And that would be, one is the availability, which is what I did for years, meaning it's either available or it's not. We have it. We put together an irresistible offer and like, here's the offer, here's the time it's available and it's going away and it goes away. That's the availability. The second way would be offering some kind of discount, right? I mentioned years ago, I felt like all the gurus are saying never discount your product. And one day I was like, what if that's not true? Sometimes we just assume things are true without testing it or really validating whether it's true or not. I was like, I like a good discount. Like, and when I buy something with a discount, I don't think I'm less likely to use it or get value out of it. It just means I was more likely to actually take the plunge and get into it. And so I was like, let me just test it. And so, and then the other thing about the availability being my urgency was it never felt just like 100% good. It never felt 100% ethical because once again, it's a digital product. It's like, and it was actually available. Like my website would say, join the wait list while Jacques working on the newest version. Well, that's not really true. And like, I value being truthful and honest with my with my people. And so I never felt great about it, but it was working so well, I'll be honest, like it was working well. So it was hard to get away from it, but I would, every once in a while, I would get a message, like kind of a hateful message, like, you're kidding people. Like, this is a digital product. We know it's available. Stop using these stupid marketing tactics. So I was like, all right, well, what if a discount could work? So I did a split test with, literally sending half the people one way, half the people another way, testing availability as the urgency versus a discount as the urgency. Now, I'll share what I found. I know you love data. You're way better at collecting data than I am, John, but a couple of caveats is this was not a perfect experiment because I didn't only change like literally one thing, right? When you're doing a split test, it's best to have literally one variable. I kind of increased my pricing at the same time. So my pricing was 2 tiers. I basically have my bottom tier is video course, online course. Top tier is online course plus every bonus I've ever thought of. Community, interaction, bonus courses, and so on. $300, $500. That was my pricing forever. So when I was going into this experiment, I wasn't just going to discount those prices because I was like, I don't want to make less money per sale. So I nearly doubled those prices. So I went up to $500, $1,000 normal price. But hey, in the funnel, you can get $100 to $200 off. So I know numbers don't play too well with just audio, but like, and that's my current pricing now. It's $500, $1,000. Inside the funnel, you can get them for either 400 or 800. Okay.
Yeah.
So I also kind of tweaked the pricing a little bit. So I got more money per sale when I switched over to urgency, with the type of urgency. But at the end of the day, the data showed me that I was making 50% more per opt-in, basically, with my urgency being the discount.
And what was the price in the other version of the funnel? Was it still 300 and 500?
300, 500, 300, okay. 500. Yes, exactly. That was like, either you can't get it at all, or you can get it for either 300 or 500, right? That's scenario A. Scenario B is you can get it anytime you want for 500 or 1,000, but for this limited time, you can get it for 400 or 800. And I was really hoping that the results would show me basically like even split between the two, because I felt better about the discount. Like that felt better on the inside. I felt like I was serving people better. I felt like I was duping them less. So at the very least, I was hoping for an even result, and it exceeded my expectations in a good way, that it actually worked better. And so for the past, probably 2 years now, that's been the model, that's been the pricing and urgency model that we've used for the past 2 years.
Nice. Okay. So that was option 1. This is going away. You can either get it now or just you can't get it for at least for a while. Second one was discount. What was the third type of urgency?
What do you think it is? Any guesses?
Oh yeah, I mean, price going up is the one that I really like.
I would lump that in with a discount, right? It's price related.
Yeah, but it works. It's different. It's psychologically. Like, I see what you mean. It is about price changing, but if you've got a fixed price and the price has been the same for a while, and then you say the price is going to go up, that only works with an existing list, not like the front end funnel. But you get a higher number of people who buy than if you say there's a discount. I need to go back and check the data on that. But that's when I've seen the highest. I from what I remember of going through it, I've seen higher numbers from that. But if that's not the one that you meant, then
no, wait. I love that you mentioned that, because I think that can be very effective. I think I should clarify, these 3 things I'm talking about have to do with evergreen urgency, and it's hard to do what you're talking about on an evergreen basis.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Truthfully. Yeah.
But yeah, truthfully, right? Ethically. But John, I'm just curious, because you brought it up, because that's not a tactic I use very often, but I know it can be effective. But like, what if you tell people, hey, look, this is the last chance. Like, this price has been like this for 5 years. This is the last chance you will be able to get it at this price. And the deadline comes, and then you raise the price, but then like people are just not buying at that higher price. And it turns out that you should have kept it like, can you go backwards on that?
Yeah, you have to kind of eat a bit of humble pie, but you can. I mean, you'd probably, if anybody buys it at the higher price, no, the higher price would be fine, wouldn't it? You just have to email everybody and go, I fucked up. I've changed it to too high of a price. We've gone back again,
Yeah. Okay. I guess like a lot of things, it comes back to transparency. And so I certainly value, being honest and transparent with my audience. So it sounds like your advice would be, as long as you're clear and you don't just like one day switch it back and don't tell anybody, then I guess it's okay. All right. Sorry. I keep getting on tangents. The third way would be a bonus going away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Instead of like the whole offer going away, instead of a discount going away, like maybe you have this great bonus that it's like, okay, you can take advantage of essentially the offer, right? You can buy the online course anytime, but for a limited time, you have access to this bonus. And if you buy by this date, you will get access to this bonus or these bonuses. Or you can combine the three forms of urgency, right? By this date, you can get the discount and the bonus, right? It's getting a little more complicated. But from what I've seen, evergreen urgency tactics, it would be that availability, discount, or bonus going away.
And have you tried with bonuses going away as an option?
I have not tried it with my piano business, but I have seen it with people that I work with. And in general, discount and availability work much better than a bonus going away, but it very much depends on what that bonus is, how compelling that bonus actually is. But in general, that's my least favorite of the three strategies, just in terms of what works the best.
Have you been through Andre Chaperon's training, the autoresponder madness?
No.
So he's got like a very, very specific way that he does email marketing. And we don't have to get into any of the details of it. It's nothing. Yeah, he's just got his own ways of doing like autoresponders and follow-up sequences, and he segments people into very small groups. But he's got in that training, does a lot of affiliate marketing, right? And so what he'll do is he'll be promoting the same launch as everybody else is promoting in the internet marketing space. So he's got some other stuff that's not internet marketing space, but if it's in internet marketing, like everybody's promoting whatever it is, Jeff Walker's product launch formula version 5.0 or whatever the hell we're on now, at the same time. So why should you buy through his link? And his thing is the bonuses. So he's got really good at like, how do you come up with an absolute killer bonus where it's like, that thing that the person's selling is brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. It's going to get you amazing results. But then what's going to happen is it's going to throw up this other problem that course doesn't solve. But if you get my bonus, then that's going to solve that problem as well. And there's nobody else who is solving that problem in the same way, and you'll never be able to buy this bonus separately. You can only buy it as part of this, launch and whatever. And it's like, it's probably not true. At some point, you probably sell it separately, but like that was kind of his way of doing it. And I never tried it. I haven't used it as an approach either. We found discounts work so well that we've never used the bonus on its own. It seems like, why would you bother? It's hard work,
like why?
Right?
Why would I eat liver and onions when I can have the steak, right? Like if it's available to me, but in your example, like the other two options aren't really available in that case. Like if you're promoting somebody else's offer, then you can't dictate the availability really. And then you can't really dictate a discount, but you can dictate any additional bonuses that you do or don't include with that offer. So it sounds like in those cases, people are not choosing bonus over the other two options. They're choosing bonus because it's the only option left.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've got another friend who she does affiliate marketing for. She promotes Marie Forleo's B School, which they do a promotion once a year, which has a going away urgency. But people could buy from lots of other people. So what she does is she throws in a bonus of a one-to-one session with her if you buy through her link. And so, that does well for her. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So if someone's not using any kind of urgency at the moment, would you always recommend going with the discount one just because it's kind of the simplest and it's worked best for you? Have you seen it work differently in other situations?
Yeah, I haven't really seen any examples where this it just definitively doesn't or won't work. It works really well, and I feel like it's the most ethical of. Not that the bonus one isn't, but I feel like it's highly ethical, and it's something that people are used to in general, just out there in the world with other buying other things, right? You go to the grocery store, so like the apples may be discounted today, right? People are used to being offered discounts on various purchases that they make and appreciate them for the most part. Where your grocery store is not like, look, this is the last day we're going to have apples. You make sure you get your apples today because tomorrow they're all. You see what I'm saying? Like that would feel very off. It's not normal. They have like 200 apples sitting out and they're not saying, hey, look, when these apples are gone, there's no more apples. That's scarcity. This would be the equivalent of saying, at midnight tonight, no matter how many apples are left, you can't buy an apple from us tomorrow. And that's weird.
That'd be really weird. Yeah. Okay. So, recap. Scarcity is there's going to run out. There's going to be a limited number of these things. Urgency is here's a reason to take action now. Different types of urgency. It's going away. Price is going up, and bonus goes away. When you first implemented urgency at all in your business, it 10 times the results that you were getting, which is pretty massive. Like most people do 2 to 3 email promotions a year with urgency. They do Black Friday, they do 1 or 2 others in there. When they do that, they have a massive spike in sales, but then they don't want to do it any other times during the year because they're like, oh, I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. So what could you say to somebody who's like feeling uncomfortable about sending these email promotions with having urgency at different times of the year? What might make them feel more comfortable about it?
So there's a difference between having one main offer versus like having a bunch of different offers you could promote, right? For me, I have one main offer. Yeah, there's 2 options somebody could select, but my brand Piano in 21 days, there's like basically one thing. You're like, I'm selling you the ability to play piano in 21 days. Take it or leave it, right? And so for like I don't want to promote that too often because I don't want my promotions to be not effective.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the bottom, honestly, I don't know what the bottom limit is. I used to do every 4 months for somebody. Now I'm doing every 100 days, which is closer to the 3-month mark, but I've never tested less than 100 days. That just feels pretty good to me, right? If I'm launching the exact same offer every month with urgency, I feel like it's like less effective.
Yeah.
But I've truly never tested that. And I know that you're a fan of like promoting and doing urgency more often, but I wonder if that works better when you have like multiple different offers. Like if every month you can put together throw a different offer in front of somebody rather than the exact same offer every month.
Yeah, our ideal is about every 6 months going back through to the start again of the okay, you've got like, we tend to do 2 promotions a month. So if you've got 12 courses, then you can do 2 a month for 6 months. Not everyone's got 12 courses. That's quite a lot, right? But if you've got 8, you can do 2 a month for 4 months. Or you can start to mix it up a little bit and go, right, we're going to take an existing course and we're going to splinter out a part of it and sell something that's cheaper, or sell an affiliate link, or have the premium version, the group coaching, you could buy the normal version. Now you can get the group. There's a whole load of ways that you can put different stuff together. That I'm getting off into a slightly different topic here. But yeah, I would say ideally, yeah, every 3 to 4 months would kind of be what we found to be the minimum. Now, we promoted the same course. We only had a client and they only had 2 courses. So we promoted the same course every month for 7 months. And every month we got better results because we learned how to do the promotion better. We found different angles, different hooks, different reasons to be talking about it. It was a self-love course for people into like self-help. And you would talk about it in January as a new year, new you. And then you talk about it in February to do with Valentine. And then you talk about it in March to do with, whatever the topic was that you could find to talk about that month. You've seen a video from her. I've got a genius copywriter called Monica, who she can just always find another angle, another reason, another thing to talk about. And then they made the sales page better and the checkout page better, and they made every other element better. But eventually, the audience, everybody who was going to buy had bought. You kind of burnt out. We're like, please, can you make another course? Please, for the love of God. And now they've started making more courses. So we're kind of in a better state with that one now. But yeah, so that's doable, but that's tough. But every 3 or 4 months, I'd say is a good kind of rhythm.
Yeah. It sounds like in that case, you very much were tweaking the messaging and whatnot, and you were trying to optimize it. But like I said earlier, like I'm basically sending people when we're doing the promotion, like I'm basically sending them the same emails, the same videos, like the same sales page and everything. So I've found the 100 days is pretty dialed in and is working pretty well.
Nice. Sweet. Okay. Any more that you do want to say on urgency? Anything else we should leave people with?
I think I think at its core, those are like for online course businesses, those are your three options. And if you can lean more toward the first two, and I'm not completely anti the availability because that can work really well too. And there's ways to do that, perfectly ethically, in my opinion. But I would lean more toward either the availability or a discount being your urgency. For scarcity, like you said, I mean, it's not altogether impossible to implement scarcity because it's really killer combination when you have both urgency and scarcity, right? You mentioned like a coaching component, right? Your time is scarce, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you include like, a one-on-one session with you, a quick start session, 2 one-on-one lessons with you, you could certainly limit that. And that's a very reasonable thing to do because you literally can't do an infinite number of those. So that is a way to implement scarcity is limit some sort of interaction with you or somebody in your team. The other way, I know you didn't really ask me about scarcity, but there's really two ways to do it. Yeah. You mentioned one way. The other way is to include something physical with your offer. And because that's physical items are scarce. And so that's something we do offer with our top end package. Most of the time when somebody buys from us, it's the high end and it's within the funnel. So most of the time a transaction is $800, $797. And when somebody takes that option, they pay in full, we will physically mail them out a package with our physical workbook, a t-shirt, things like that. I'm not really leaning into the scarcity on that, but I guess I could. That would be a way that I definitely could. Like, look, I only have 20 of these packages. So the first 20 people that do this, and this will get it. But it's hard to do that on an evergreen basis, right? Because I'm always getting more supplies. I'm always getting more stuff to put in the packages. But if I had a one-off promotion that I was putting out there, like for Black Friday, I could say, hey, look, normally I discount this to 800, but today only you get it for 700. And the first 10 people get this package right here. And, after that, I'm out, there's no more. So I think that would be a way to do scarcity as well.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Russell Brunson, if you ever go through some of his stuff, I know that your webinar is going to be based on his format, but if you go through his stack, he goes hard on every angle you could possibly do on that. Like, okay, how can we have urgency and scarcity and extra scarcity where the first 100 people of you get this bonus, but if the first 10 get this double bonus, and then it's like, oh my God, I must take action now. Oh my God. But okay, I think from a simplicity point of view, discounts is the way to go with this one. If people heard this and they want some more of your wisdom, where should they go? Where should we point people to?
Oh, thanks, John. I mean, I think we have pretty good crossover in audiences, I would say. So people listening to this, it's already a podcast. My podcast is on the Online Course Show. I know, John, you really wanted that name, but it was already taken when you were starting your podcast.
I took the second best name, yeah.
kidding, obviously. But yeah, Online Course Show. I started it back in 2017 just to kind of share insights for my own course business, Piano in 21 Days, not really knowing where that would go. And it's still up and running here 6 years later, which is really cool. And I just love podcasting. Clearly you do too. You're a couple years in on your podcast, huh?
Yeah, I thought about doing a podcast for a very long time before starting, because I was like, I don't want to be one of those people who starts it and then stops it like 15 episodes in. I was like, I've got to know that I can commit to doing this and make this happen every week for a long time. I had a friend who told me he'd done it I was like, Christmas. I've done it when my baby was born. I've done it every week, for 7 years or whatever. I was like, okay, all right, Rob, I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit to, but it took a while to get in there with it. But no, it's good. It's you get a chance to talk to a lot of people and get a lot of good insights. Okay, so the Online Course Show podcast, and then the onlinecourseguy.com as well.
Yes.
Go check out. You've got a membership over there if people are interested in learning more about getting your support with running their own online course business.
Yeah, we have a little of that too, but I would certainly invite people to start with the free podcast. That's a great place to start. And I think I love your podcast, John. It's super valuable. It's, back when I was getting started, there weren't really any podcasts dedicated to just to course creators, right? Now there's several. And I think a lot of times, you're sharing insights and then you're also bringing in experts in certain areas, which is really cool. One difference in my podcast is a lot of times I'll bring in just like your regular everyday run-of-the-mill course creator on a lot of times non-money making subjects, cooking, quilting, things like that, and just hear their story about how they succeeded with their online course business is a lot of the episodes that you hear on the Online Course Show.
Nice. So if you enjoyed this interview and you found it useful and you want to get future episodes, subscribe wherever you listened. Thanks so much for listening today. And thanks so much, Jacques, for coming on.
Thanks, John.